Alright guys, today we're going to talk about cordless hole punches. Not that type. This type. Particularly the Glock. So, before we even get started, it is empty. There is nothing in the magazine. So, why did Glock become so prevalent and why are there so many fanboys today? Well, in order to answer that question, we have to go all the way back to the 1980s. So, a little history on Glock. Glock first made their first handgun, I believe, back in 1982. But they weren't introduced into the United States. They weren't imported into the United States until 1986. And then in 1988, that is when police began using them. So, why did police start using them? Well, here's the thing. Police officers, they want to have the advantage, and rightfully so. If they get into a firefight, for the most part, police officers are there trying to do their job. They're trying to do the right thing, and they just want to go home at the end of the day. You know, they want to go home. They want to be with their family at the end of the day. And, well, Glock at the time was their ticket, because at the time they were toting around the Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum for the most part. Now, you had some police outfits that were using 1911s. You know, there was other handguns that they were being issued, or, you know, I believe at that time that some outfits still allowed them to kind of carry their own firearm. You know, they could choose what firearm they wanted to use. So you had some officers that had, you know, X firearm, some officers had Y firearm, and the others had the regular standard issue. But we're not discussing that today. We're discussing why Glock became so popular. Well, in order to compare, you have to compare apples to orange, or apples to apples. So first, why did Glock be seen as superior to the 1911 at the time? Well, the 1911 chambered 45 ACP only carried 7 rounds in a magazine. So 7 rounds in a magazine at the time. Most criminals were using 357 revolvers or 22s or, you know, other relatively inexpensive firearms. So one bullet gave you a slight advantage, but for the most part, if you're outnumbered and they've all got 6 shooters, then that one bullet really didn't matter. It could maybe get you a little bit further into the gunfight, and then you were out. Now, the other officers that were carrying the wheel guns, the Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum 6 shooters, they were at the most disadvantage because it was an even playing field as far as most of the time what they were running into. The firearms that the criminals were using were also 357s or, you know, some type of revolver. So for the most part, 6 rounds for a good guy, 6 rounds for a bad guy. Police like to have the advantage. Well, when Glock was introduced and Glock started becoming more prevalent amongst the police, well, 15-round double-stack magazines. You more than double your capacity. Not only that, but if you're in the middle of a firefight, slide racks back, locks in place, you drop your magazine, grab your other one, slip it in, and there you go. You're back in the fight. Compared to a revolver where you run out at 6 bullets, so less than half of, the capacity of a Glock. You had to flip it open, dump them out, and then some officers are loading them, one at a time. Some officers probably had the little speed clips, but either way, those speed clips they're not easy to hold on to. You put them in a coat pocket or whatever. Now you're fumbling them around in your coat pocket. At the technology and stuff that we had for making accessories on your duty belt weren't that advanced, I guess you could say. They weren't as luxury or nice. So you have a 15-round mag. You carry 2 mags, one in the gun, one on, one spare, and you have 4 times more than that, 30 rounds. You have 5 times the amount of a 6-shooter. 2 mags, 1 reload, 6-shooter, 5 reloads for the same amount of bullets. Not only that, but the 9mm did not kick near as much, so your follow-up shots were a lot better, a lot more accurate. In addition, 9mm is cheaper to manufacture and make and purchase. 357 is relatively expensive. Now, 357 had more power. Well, now you're getting into problems with overpenetration. So the 357, yeah, it's got more power, will punch a hole right through. 9mm, especially if you have it as hollow point, nowhere near as much overpenetration. The round is lighter, so you can carry more. And, well, let's face it, it's just overall superior to the handgun, in the exception of, or superior to the revolver, in the exception of, revolvers don't jam up near as much. If you limp wrist a revolver, the most that's going to happen is you're going to jar your wrist, more than likely. Unless it's a 500 Magnum, and then there's the whole, bang, bang, right to the noggin. I'm not sure, is that a myth or did that actually happen? I'm going to have to do some research on that. If anyone can tell me if that actually happened and can drop the actual link to the article or whatever, drop it in the comments. Let me know. But yeah, 9mm, nowhere near as much overpenetration. Easier to produce. More capacity. Well, now we look at the last 40 years, well, close to 40 years, and you think, okay, so you have a bunch of these retired police coming out, and they've been using this for the most of their career. Well, now they swear by it. Their kids are going to swear by it, and there you go. That's why Glock became so popular and why there's so many fanboys. But yeah, ultimately it comes down to what gun fits you best. Because if a gun doesn't fit you good, why are you carrying it? This gun does fit me good. Now, I'm not a Glock fanboy. I will admit that there's better handguns out there. It just fits me the best compared to what I have. For every scenario that I can run through my head, this is my normal, everyday, out on the street carry. For at home, I have a different handgun. It is also 9mm. That way, I go buy a box of 9mm and I can fill up magazines for 3 different guns. I don't have a need to have a 44 Magnum in my gun safe, although I'd really like one just to have one. But I'm not over here, make my day. So, there you go. Do what you want. I've got to go take care of a kid now.